now it's excellent.
All right. Okay. Okay. So sorry for that, but I think we connected now. Just a quick introduction. Yeah, as you already mentioned, I'm Andrew Takawira. I work for the Global Water Partnership Africa Coordination Unit. We are based in Pretoria, but supporting all the regions in Africa. We are also the technical support unit of the Africa Water Investment Program, where I'm the senior technical advisor. So I'll just take you through the Africa Water Investment Program and what it's trying to achieve and the work that is being done so far. So maybe I can start my presentation now. I'm not sure what you can see on your side, but I've just gone to the next slide. I hope you can see it. You can just confirm that my slides are moving.
Andrew, you're fine. Continue.
All right. Okay, good. So the Africa Water Investment Program was adopted by the AU heads of states in February 2021 at the 34th ordinary session. In 2019, the program was endorsed by the Council of the African Ministers, AMCAO, or for water. And its main objective is really to transform Africa's water investment outlook by increasing partnership and implementing key initiatives that will narrow the water investment gap. And I'll come to that in the next few slides. This basically comes out of a joint UN World Bank high-level panel on water, which called for the launch of the Africa Water Investment Program. And in it, a number of heads of states from Africa, South Africa, Senegal, Mauritius, were part of that high-level panel of heads of states. And the call was made for an Africa Water Investment Program to be launched, which subsequently followed the endorsement by AMCO in 2019, like I've already said, and the adoption through the PIDA Priority Action Plan by the heads of states in 2021. So this is sort of the background of the AIP and how it is sort of anchored at the continental level within the Africa sort of political architecture. So this is just recaps what I've just said. I think one thing that I'll also mention is that in 2022, after the adoption of the program in PIDA-PAP2, there has been a scorecard framework that has been developed, and I'll talk to that. And the main issue here is to address the water investment gap in Africa. So this just reflects the earlier slide that I was talking to. I won't go too much into detail, but this is the AMCO decision on AIP, which called for efforts by a number of partners in Africa to implement the AIP, to establish and implement the AIP. This is the 2021 decision from AMCO as well, where the executive committee noted the establishment of international high-level panel on water investments for Africa. And I'll come to that in a bit more detail in the next slides. This panel has now been established and following this call by AMCO in 2021. So why the AIP? I think I've already alluded to this, that the whole idea is to close the water investment gap in Africa. We know that, there's almost about 64 billion that needs to be invested annually to meet the Pan-African water vision. And there is a gap, as only about 11 to 20 billion per year is currently being invested. And then to cover that gap, we need almost 11 to 20 billion per year to address that gap. So this is just to reflect on the investment gap that is there, and that a lot of money is actually required for us to address that water investment gap. And AIP is coming to also support in closing that gap amongst other initiatives out there. So how will AIP mobilize this water investment gap? So there are basically sort of 5 support programs and anchor initiatives that are there to support this. So the first one I've already talked to is the high-level panel at the head of states level, which is basically coming in to strengthen political commitment and provide leadership on narrowing the water investment gap. So this really raises the profile of water on the continent, and the need to invest in water security and sanitation. The AIP Water Investment Scorecard, which is the framework I talked to earlier, saying it was approved by the heads of states in 2022, is going to be sort of a tracking tool that will aim to enhance mutual accountability and also give us an understanding of the key areas where water investments need to be made. So understanding in each country where the water investment gap is. The third one is the international blended investment mechanism. So we know that there has to be a mechanism that has to be established to mobilize some of these resources that we are talking about. And what is key about this mechanism is that it is really looking at how to bring in private sector or private funding into water. So creating a platform or a mechanism that will allow for blending public and private funds. Currently, there's a feasibility study that is being done, led by the UNDP, UNICEF also, to try and see what is the niche and what kind of mechanism could address this issue of drawing in private sector, so that we can also narrow the investment gap. And then another sort of the fourth kind of anchor initiative is the development of investment programs and pipelines. And this is really important for us to understand, both at different levels, national, transboundary, regional. What are those key water investment areas that we need to prioritize, and how do we address these gaps? So, it is important for a country to understand its own sort of gap, to say, okay, this is our gap. And, this is done through developing these investment programs that very much look at how water security and sanitation investments need to be made so that we contribute to the national priorities, development priorities. And then the sort of last, but not least definitely, but the fifth sort of anchor initiative program that we have is around gender equality and climate resilience. And this has been implemented through a program, an AMCO program called the WACDEP-G. So it's Water, Climate Development and Gender program. And basically this program is trying to enhance environmental, social and governance issues in water investments, addressing gender inequalities and ensuring that climate resilience issues are well integrated into the water investments that will be prioritized. So these are sort of the 5 areas on how AIP is trying to contribute to addressing the water investment gap in Africa. I'll quickly take you through, each of those. I'll skip this slide because I've already talked to it in the previous slide, but these are just notes that you can also, capture once you get the presentation from the organizers. You can get a bit more detail on this slide. So I'll just go to the high-level panel, that first sort of INCA initiative that I was talking to. So the panel has been established to mobilize high-level political commitment and leadership, like I've said, and the objective really is to mobilize resources to support the implementation of AIP. So the panel, how are they doing this? They are developing an investment plan with actionable pathways on how the 30 billion annually can be implemented. So coming up with actionable, ways on how this financing can be raised. Just trying to go beyond sort of the normal, but trying to say how can we as Africa actually think of mobilizing these resources. So that report is currently being sort of developed, which will present these actionable pathways. So they will deliver that high-level report. They are also working and with AUC, the Africa Union Commission, to develop a water policy that will sort of support water activities in Africa. And the sustainability is really going to be built around the AIP investment scorecard, which will be tracking, all the 54 countries in Africa. It will be tracking how investments are being made and where the gaps are. Just a brief on the panel and who sits on it. It was launched at the 9th World Water Forum, which was held in Dakar in March 2022. Currently, the co-chair is the president of the Republic of Senegal, is the chair of the African Union. The co-chair is the president of the Republic of Namibia, who is currently the chair of AMCAO. And then we have the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, who is also a co-chair representing the countries from outside Africa. And then we have an alternate chair, the former president of the United Republic of Tanzania, who is also the chair of GWP Southern Africa and the coordination unit. So this is sort of the how the chairmanship of the chairs are sort of comprised currently. So yeah, this is how the chair composition is currently. Just to highlight that the panel was convened by AMCO, working with partners from AMCO and AUDA, working with partners from UNDP, UNICEF, GCA, and Global Water Partnership. And this is sort of the members of the panel currently. There's a representation from each region. So East Africa, the president of the United Republic of Tanzania is there. Also not shown here, because this was something that was confirmed recently, is also the president of Kenya. He's also part of the panel. This has already been confirmed. The president of Gambia, and the administrator of the UNDP, CEO from African Auda NEPAD, UNICEF executive director, the CEO of GCA, the chair of Global Water Partnership, and former CEO of NEPAD is also part of the panel. These are just some of the panel events that have happened. I will not go too much into detail on that. Just moving quickly to the second sort of anchor initiative. It's the Water Investment Scorecard, which was developed by AUD and NEPAD. They were leading this process. As I've already said, the Continental Africa Water Investment Program is part of the PIDA-PAP2 water projects. I've already mentioned that it was approved. The framework for the scorecard was approved in February 2022. It is really aligned and integrated into the AMCO-WASMO reporting systems. So the parameters and indicators for the scorecard will also come out of this water and sanitation monitoring reporting system. That is, it's an Africa-wide reporting system that is administered by AMCO and is already collecting information on a number of indicators. So the scorecard indicators have also been integrated into this reporting system. So it will really support countries to track and identify bottlenecks that need to be addressed in order to narrow the water investment gaps. It will help countries also, understand where the water investment gap is. It will mobilize political leadership and commitment because it's going to be sort of presented annually to the Heads of State Summit, the AUC Heads of State Summit that happens in February every year. So there will be that high level, understanding of the gaps in Africa, but it won't end there. One of the key things that will be done as well is to actually identify areas and opportunities to address those gaps, and progress will also be reported annually as to how the countries and partners are responding to addressing those water investment gaps. So it's definitely not a static tool, but it will have a response strategy that is attached to it so that we can also monitor how progress is being made towards addressing the gaps. This is just to show when the scorecard was launched in Nairobi at the 7th PIDA Water Week. So I won't go into detail too much on this. This is the framework that was approved. But just to say that it has 3 pillars. The first pillar looking at the enabling environment for water, security and sanitation investments. The second pillar looking at mobilizing water security and sanitation investments and financing. And then the third pillar also enhancing performance and sustainability. And this third pillar really is looking at how do we ensure that the investments that we have are performing, are efficient, and are sustainable. Otherwise, we will lose the gains that we'll have made from earlier investments. So under pillar 1, we really trying to understand is the enabling environment to drive the investments. What is the governance and planning context of the country? We're looking at the investment climate. Is the climate able to attract investments into the country? The third sort of sub pillar under that is kind of looking at issues of social and environmental inclusion, because these are quite key if we are going to ensure that the investments that are being made actually make a difference and no one is left behind. So it's important to ensure that we have that enabling environment that allows for that. So once we have strengthened that enabling environment, we feel that this can contribute to that outcome that we want to see of a sustainable, inclusive water security and sanitation investments increasing. But that can't happen alone. We need the financial resources. So we're tracking under pillar 2, financial resources coming from the government expenditure, from official development assistance, and also private sector and philanthropic investments, trying to understand what kind of resources are being put in place, how those resources are actually the absorptive capacity, how are they being actually spent. So tracking that also becomes important, because this is where we can realize where we have the gaps, right, from the different sources and where we need to motivate or mobilize more investments. And we also believe that by increasing the access to finance, it also helps, contribute to those increased investments that we want to see. And the last pillar, like I already said, is really looking at the investment performance and sustainability, which is also critical if we actually want to have sustainable and inclusive water security and sanitation investments. And otherwise, if we just invest and we don't also focus on how we ensure that continued continued sort of performance of those investments, it kind of hampers the progress we try to make. And all these three, once they lead into those increased investments, we see them now contributing this impact we want to see, where water security and sanitation investments actually start spurring economic growth and development. So creating jobs, reducing poverty, improving health, gender equality and social. So this is the whole sort of idea of the framework. So under each of these pillars, there are indicators that have been identified, and those indicators are what will be tracked. But I won't go into too much of that. We can always share that information if needed. This is just the roadmap for developing the scorecard. I won't go into it. Once you get the slides, it's just for your information to see how the process of developing it up to the approval. Now, I talked about the third sort of, actually it was the fourth, but it was around investments, right? So we are already also working very closely with AUD and NEPAD. There are a number of water projects that have been identified also in the PDAPAP2. So the PDAPAP2 is the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa Priority Action Plan. And this program really is sort of a continental program. And these are sort of the water projects that are there, which AIP is also supporting through, engaging with partners to accelerate in project preparation, sorry. So that's just an overview of some of those programs that have been identified in the PDAPAP2. So just to take you through some of the key result areas on the PDAPAP2, what has happened so far and what is being done. There is a resource mobilization strategy that has been developed for all the PDAPAP2 projects. If for some of you who are aware of the PDAPAP1, you will know that the feasibility of water wasn't very strong in that first phase, but currently in this PDA action plan, there has been an increase in the number of water projects from just 2% to now 17% of the projects now, really falling under the PDA water projects. And we feel this is a huge, progress in terms of ensuring that water is also integrated into this continental flagship program. There are already sort of 3 water projects receiving funding from the NEPAD project preparation facility. The Lake Chad work is ongoing with support. There's from the Adaptation Fund. There's a SADC regional investment program that has been developed and is being prepared right now, through a project preparation facility from the GCF, which will see an investment program being developed for SADC. The Lesotho Botswana water transfer is being recognized quite a lot in terms of the project preparation process that is happening, seeing it winning a number of awards. The water prospectus for the PDA projects have also been developed. The scorecard is being piloted. So these are sort of some of the kind of achievements that are coming out in terms of pushing these investment projects in Africa. But obviously more work needs to be done to ensure that this happens. So this is another kind of pillar of the AIP. So now moving quickly to the issue of the water investment programs that I was talking to, that's another pillar where the AIP is coming in to support countries in the development of water investment programs. So the Zambia Water Investment Program is an example of one such program that has been developed with support from AIP, and it was launched by the president of Zambia in July 2022. Already the government has made a commitment of about 1 billion up until 2030, and the investment program is looking at about 6 billion worth of prioritized investments to support the national development initiatives in Zambia. I won't go too much into this, but this is just a quote from the president of Zambia during the launch, where he clearly recognizes that it's no longer acceptable that this sector is taken for granted, and that there's actually need to ensure that we have the required investments made into the water sector. This is another quote from the Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Development in the African Union Commission, just encouraging countries to implement AIP and close the investment gap. Another quote from that launch from the CEO of the African Union Development Agency, also talking about accelerating and upscaling water investments. This was the Minister of Water from Senegal. He's the Sherpa for the high-level panel on behalf of the President of Senegal, and also talking about the Zambia Water Investment Program. These are just pictures to show the launch. It was quite a high level, and this is what we are trying to do in all the countries to ensure that the launch of these investment programs, or even the oversight in implementation, is really at a high level, and there's that accountability to the heads of states on how this is being implemented. Because we do realize that if we want water investments to actually happen, we really need to ensure that our heads of states are committed to delivering and ensuring that that gap is addressed. So in all countries, it has really been,
Andrew, you have less than 5 minutes to end your presentation.
I'll end before that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this is just also to show the importance of having that sort of high-level engagement. As you can see already in Zambia, in the 2023 budget speech, the Zambia Water Investment Program was already noted and allocated resources. So very important that this engagement we are having even at national level is coming from that sort of head of states kind of level. So this is also Zanzibar, where another water investment program has been developed, and this is the president of Zanzibar at the launch. I'm just trying to reflect on the issue of how it is important to actually anchor these programs at a very high level. This is the launch in Zanzibar with the president, and also leading to allocation of resources from the national level into this, and also the number of roundtable, roundtable donor funding meetings that are being held, for people coming to rally around the implementation of this. Yeah, so I won't go too much. This is already in Zanzibar, which shows the government of Germany coming already to provide resources to support the implementation of the Zanzibar Water Investment Program. So really important tool for the AIP is these national and regional investment programs. So I won't go into details. This just shows you the overview of the Zanzibar investment program, the different components that they have, and they have a total budget of 665 million that they are trying to raise up to 2030 to implement the activities recognized. This was just to give you an overview of the AIP, structure. very much led by that high-level panel and ensuring that there are also technical sort of groups that are supporting and steering the process. I think that's all for now. I end here. Just to say that these are sort of the partners we've really been engaged in sort of supporting the AIP, the development of the scorecard and its implementation going forward. I think the scorecard will be really the critical tool that will even drive what goes into the investment programs or what is prioritized as we get this understanding of where the investment gap is in Africa. And these partners have already committed to also supporting countries in the implementation of some of those gaps that will come out. Okay, I will stop here, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, can we please appreciate Andrew? Can we please appreciate Andrew? Thank you. Andrew, thank you very much. I think from the amount of clap that you had from us, that basically means that we are very grateful. I want to open the floor for a few questions to you before we resume other things that we're doing here. So I would start with you, Simon. You can voice your question. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Andrew. This is Simon.
Hi, Simon. Good.
Yes. I was wondering whether you can mention that today there is the Dakar Financing Summit, and if there is any press release, and especially some projects for Eastern Africa, because the media here from the Greater Horn of African country. So would there be something for them, take away home that they can report on?
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Simon. So yes, there's actually a session today, which is actually there are two sessions. So the first one, which is starting at 12 o'clock GMT, is focusing on the high-level report that I talked to, which is looking at the actionable pathways to mobilize the 30 billion that we've been talking about. So there's a consultation on that, which is being led by the government of Senegal. And then there's another session where Angololo project from East Africa will be presented, because there are a number of funders at that Dakar Financing Summit. So the Angololo project is being presented to funders, and I will share details with Tobias so that you can also share with the colleagues. Yeah, but thank you for that, Simon. I think it's a very important summit that is happening there, where a number of investors are actually coming in and projects are showcasing their sort of financing needs, and supported by Aoud and EPAD as part of the PIDA project. So Angololo is one of those projects that will be presented. Thank you.
Yeah, can you just repeat the name of the project from East Africa?
It's Angololo.
Angololo between Kenya and Uganda.
What about the project?
So sorry.
Yeah, say something. 1 minute about the Angololo project.
Yeah, it's a project between Kenya and Uganda. So the idea is to develop a multi-purpose dam that will sort of drive a number of development projects in the area, looking at irrigation, water supply for the two countries. So far, a number of studies have been done, and Aoud and EPAD is assisting the countries in mobilizing resources for implementation to take the project forward.
Okay, any other question for Andrew before we let him go? Yes.
So Andrew, it's Tobias here. I'd just like you to elaborate a little bit on the gender scorecard. It's a significant aspect of the scorecard, I think. and it could be something which I think is newsworthy as well, in the sense that there is now a very concrete tracking mechanism for gender mainstreaming in the water sector.
Yeah, so the scorecard is a water investment scorecard, but in the scorecard, the gender aspects are well integrated into all sort of the different pillars and sub pillars. Under pillar 1, I did talk about the social and environmental sort of social inclusion and environmental integrity issues. And within that, there are actually indicators that are tracking, participation of women in decision-making processes, but also looking at how countries are incorporating gender budgeting into the activities. So gender is sort of a cross-cutting issue throughout the water investment scorecard. Yeah.
Any other question? Any other? Please come close. So this would be the last question then. Okay.
Hi, Andrew. I want to know whether there is a role that is being played by the private sector in Africa, because from what you've shown us is mostly international bodies and maybe governments. So what is the role of private sector in this?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and that's one of the issues we really want to address in AIP. We do realize there are pockets of private sector involvement in the water sector. You've got good examples there in Kenya around the Apatana Water Fund, where you have kind of private sector coming in to also support. We have various initiatives in Tanzania, where the Water Resources Group under the World Bank is also working with a number of partners, especially in the sort of water irrigation sector. But I think more needs to be done. And this is why one of the things I talked to was that facility or that funding mechanism, which is being developed to actually draw in private sector. So how do we bring in public resources to kind of de-risk some of the investments, so that private sector can actually come in? So this is actually what we really want to focus with this blended mechanism I was talking about, to really see how we can use the current public resources that we have to draw in private sector participation into the sector. Yeah, so I think more needs to be done, but there are examples of private sector involvement that is happening. But to bring it to scale, we feel that this blended investment mechanism could be such a tool which could have clear impact metrics that the private sector can actually kind of buy into. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so we thank you for joining us this morning, and we know you have a very busy day. We let you go, and I guess that you will get reports from this workshop later on. So thanks, Andrew, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Can we
Bye.
give him an exit clap?